What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we're going to be talking about the completion of block 1 of my Chicago Marathon training plan and what's to come, what I can do better, and if you're following this sort of training plan for your Chicago Marathon, just things to keep in mind that will probably benefit you, and also things and bad habits to keep out of your workouts to also make them better. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed, watching content. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all the latest training updates and other cool things like that. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So as we've probably discussed, I'll give you guys a recap of this training plan, is that I have it separated into 3.5 different phases, right? So this is phase 1, which is up to this point of the calendar. Then phase 2 is these 4 weeks. Phase 3 is these 4 weeks. And then phase 3.5 is these last 2 weeks leading up to the actual Chicago Marathon. So right now, we're pretty early into the season, and I've gotten all of my mileage completed for block 1, which is 55 miles a week, 60, and then I just completed 65 just last night. Pretty brief run to kind of close out the distance, which is going to kind of get into some points as we get in there. This time, these purple lines here just represent my deload weeks. Now, I've got this written as a 40 to 50 mile week. There's a caveat here, though, is because I also have the Algonquin 5K, 10K local race this particular week on this Sunday. It's going to be my first race in like 3 months since I got injury and my false heart diagnosis, and that's kind of why I'm walking around with this thing for like another 5 days or something. And basically, I may drop this to like 30 to 40 miles for this particular week, and then do some additional cross training just to stimulate more of the triathlon affiliated sports, such as like swimming, biking, some more strength training, have more focus on like weak points on my body. So let's talk about the good and the bad of block 1. So block 1 right now, the way I see it, is that overall it was really good. Like, there was a lot of good things that happened from it that I kind of want to reflect on, and there's some other things that I've also brought attention to by myself in some of my Strava notes that I kind of just remember off the top of my head here. So we'll just go right into it. So the first thing to note that was good is I started waking up at 7 a.m. to go running again, particularly on Saturdays with the run club that is at my gym. So that run was usually about 10 miles long run, and that has been a key portion of all 3 weeks of, this training block. And those runs have been intentionally very slow, a little bit slower than I'm used to, but kind of more at like a group pace, if you guys know what I mean. So if the group pace for their math tone is like, 9:30 minute per mile, or like almost 10 minutes per mile going uphill, that's the pace I'm going to take it at. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the principle there is to essentially be on your legs running for a longer period of time, and just being used to having that time on your legs running that distance. So even if we complete the 10-mile run in like an hour and a half, which I should be able to do over a half marathon in like under that time, the principle is still there, which is 90 minutes on your legs, constantly moving, and you're going to feel the effects afterwards, even if you're running like below your, math tone heart rate in this case. So I think that workout, maybe I never exceeded 155 at that point. And like, I think 151 is what I'm not supposed to exceed at math tone. My coach thinks 155 is like a pretty good range for myself, so we just kind of roll with it, right? So that run has always been crucial, and like, I'll finish those runs with my legs feeling like absolute jelly. So it's not like running 10-minute pace for myself is some sort of easy feat. Like, that's 90 minutes on your legs running after some night workout you did, or some additional workouts you did during the week, and you're still putting in 10 miles of distance regardless of how slow it is. So that's one thing I was very happy about and kind of noticed, and it's a good habit. The second thing, of course, I've noticed is I'm more conscious of what runs I'm doing daily, and keeping them a lot more structured. So like, Mondays are like easy but a little bit of distance. Tuesdays are my speed workouts, whether they're on the track or doing some sort of intervals on the on the course. Wednesdays, again, like more of a mid-range kind of distance thing, but have some more cross training involved. So more swimming, biking, and that's not to say that I'm not swimming or biking on the Mondays or Tuesdays. It's just there's more focus on that rather than the run. Thursdays, again, it's another easy, maybe It's typically an easy 2-a-day kind of thing where it's an easy group run first, and then later on I'll do some sort of tempo session to kind of close out and add some more distance. Fridays are relatively, I guess, easy to mid-range, and then Saturdays like the group run, and Sunday is like another long run style workout for myself that is gonna have a little bit more speed and a little bit more race pace simulation because I'm on my own, and my legs are already kind of turned over from basically being exhausted from the day before. So whether that strategy is working right now or not is actually, I do have an answer for that, and it's kind of not. This is where one of these cons I'm noticing is happening. So the first thing I should probably note in this training plan is if you are going to do 2 long runs a day to meet these mile caps, you should separate the long runs between, I don't know, in this case I would do like maybe a Thursday long run and then like the Saturday long run, or even Wednesday long run, Saturday long run, and then Sunday should be more dedicated for racing. It should be more for a long bike maybe, and maybe like a swim bike kind of Ironman style simulation, whatever is kind of the key there. But I think that Saturday should be more of that dedicated long run with a little bit of speed. So this is where the trouble obviously begins, is because now you're running over, like for example, this weekend I ran over 30 miles in 48 hours to take out the 65-mile week, and I ran 4 times in the last 2 days, like 4 different workouts. Also not great, right? Because one run was like 10 miles, the other one was almost like 6.5 to 7. Then I ran like another 10 miles yesterday, and then I added 2.5 that night. So this goes into my next problem, which is instead of breaking up the long runs into multiple pieces, do the long runs as one huge thing. And now I guess there's a little bit of, pros and cons to this style of workout, and I think most people will obviously agree. Do the long run in one take. It's just going to be a better time, management kind of thing to do. If you got the time to break it into 2 different segments, like it's not the worst idea, but you're just not going to have the experience of being on your legs a little bit longer, which I totally agree with. My only issue right now is more environment based, and I think I know how to resolve it, right? So environmentally wise, what we're talking here is like I'm in a new environment. We're running in hills. I don't know where all the water fountains are yet. I'm not carrying water with me. I do sometimes carry gels. It's more of logistics of that type of stuff that I need to sort out in order to be able to run for a little bit longer. And now as I'm exploring the local area a lot more, now I'm understanding different areas where like, okay, at mile 2, here's a water fountain, you can grab some water. At mile 6, there's also this water fountain, and then we've got like, if you need to use the washroom or something, it's right there, things like that I'm starting to pin a little bit better, because when I was living in Chicago, the lakefront path had a lot of accessibility, a lot of water fountains, and you kind of had good markers on the trail depending on where you started. Like, okay, if I start at Fullerton Avenue Beach and I go all the way up to Foster Beach and back, that's going to be almost like a 10 to 11 mile run. Like, I know basically those mile markers like the back of my hand right now, because that's just where I was training for like over 5 years. So now when I'm out here mapping out the new routes and the usual long route passages that I want to take that don't have too many hills but also aren't too easy is kind of going to be sort of important moving forward. So at this point, like, I know from my house to like starting at one of the parks, taking like this North Prairie Trail south to like Elgin is going to be about a 4 to 5 mile there, and then another 5 miles back, or if you take a different turn you may experience more. So I'm still learning some of the trails in order to best have a flatter long run style workout that isn't fatiguing me too much on hills or demoralizing me in that sense. So that's probably another piece to note, is like, yeah, hills during your long run can demoralize you unless it's part of your course simulation. So like, if I know Chicago Marathon doesn't have too many hills, I don't necessarily want to train for an endurance style marathon. I'm trying to train for a little bit of more speed, so I got to keep it flat and just focus on running on more flat surfaces for a faster speed. So I think I'm probably just running in circles with this idea, so I'll probably just cut him off there. What else was working out well in this training plan? Obviously, diet has been working out pretty well. I'm starting to eat a lot more breakfast and just obviously taking in more carbohydrates during the course of the day, snacking a little bit more if necessary in like between workouts, not necessarily going into a block session of like a run, then a swim, then weight training, but like putting some time in between each one just to refuel, because, you know, it's hot, you're sweating a lot, it's good to just kind of take a break and take it easy on some days where you don't need to necessarily train like a madman during the triathlon for this particular thing. So, what else is a thing of concern? Well, I think I'll say this much. My concern right now, as I'm going into this race week, this Algonquin 5K, 10K, I'm racing the 10K. My concern here is because I've spent so much time running a little bit slower, not too much speed work, not a lot of flat style workouts on like, you know, flat surfaces. My concern right now is that I'm not going to have the same speed that I had, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago for a 10K. So if my PR for a 10K is like just about 38 minutes and some change, I'm afraid I can't keep that pace right now. And like even when I try running in like, you know, the Vaporfly or the Alphafly, it's very tricky for me to like be able to hold down these faster paces in the training runs. And I don't know if it's the hills. I don't know if it's just because I'm used to running a little bit slower now. But like I'll tell you this much, like my endurance is improved drastically. Like I can just mentally focus and I won't feel winded from, you know, running a gradual net uphill and then like a spiked uphill to another path and then like it turns flat. Like I'm not too phased by that anymore, but I am concerned about the fact that like my leg turnover doesn't feel nearly as strong or nearly as fast as it used to be. But I think Sunday we'll find out exactly what's going on. I think this week I'm going to try to throw in some like sprinter bowls during my run just to see if the speed is there and I'm just, you know, psyching myself out of it. But I do want to win this 10K. I don't know who's racing it. I don't know what the local field looks like. I don't think Evan Yeager's going to be there, but if he is, then forget it. I'll probably have to settle with second, maybe third. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of one of the concerns now, is that I think this is the Sage candidate explanation, is like, are you a Prius or are you a Mustang, right? Like, I don't know anymore where I am on that graph of speed versus endurance, right? So I'm thinking I'm a little bit more of like a Mazda 3 now. So instead of being like this perfectly endurance-based athlete, I have a little bit of speed in there, but I'm leaning more endurance than what I was before. I think before maybe I was like an Evo or something like that, where it was like the speed was kind of there. I'm getting up there, but I'm not necessarily, you know, some like muscle car kind of animal quite yet. So it's a weird analogy, I guess, but whatever. I guess it is what it is. So block one, I got all the distance done that I wanted. The long runs need some improvement overall. I need to better plan some of my routes, some of my training, wake up a little bit earlier to get some of my other workouts done. And then we need to see if I need to focus more on some speed training in order to not only finish the Chicago Marathon with like good feeling legs and like no cardiovascular sort of exhaustion moments, but also be able to finish fast in the pace that I want, which is at least over an average of 6:52 pace per mile. So I think I'm going to block one here, and then, you know, moving forward, there's of course the Chicago Triathlon this week, but before that, there's a week that I may be in Colorado, which means I may be running a 75-mile week in Colorado. That's going to be insane if I can get it done. I am very nervous about that, though, so we'll see how that plays along. And then, you know, phase 3, that's what the Chicago Triathlon. I'll be running 65 miles that week, similar to kind of what I've done this week. Just put in a huge bulk of distance at the start of the week and then kind of taper down. It shouldn't be a big deal. And then the Crystal Lake 13.1, I guess it's just going to be part of my long run for that week, is to get that 13.1 down. And I think that's the end of the racing on the calendar so far, but I guess we'll see what happens as we move along. But that's all I've got for now. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about the training plan, you know, just let me know, and then we'll just continue moving from here. It's a slow and steady build. That's what I've designed it to do, just a 5 to 10% increase. But I really want to break the glass ceiling here with this 90-mile week, and I'm determined to get it done. And hopefully I don't let anyone down, and I get it done, and the Chicago Marathon goes well. So I will end this video here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.